Welcome to Social Jumpstart, the cable television program about social media. I'm Mike Wolpert, and our guest this week, Kathy Ciari. She's an internet safety expert, and she's going to talk about what we can do to make ourselves and our users safer from what goes on out in the big bad world of the internet. Kathy, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mike.
I'm glad to see you.
Good to be here.
First, tell me a little bit about internet safety expert. Tell me a little bit about your background and what you do.
Sure. Presently, I'm working in that same capacity at Tagged, a wonderful social network located here in San Francisco. Prior to Tagged, I worked for MySpace.
They still have MySpace?
Yeah, they're still there. They're still there. And before that, and I probably really earned my chops working at Yahoo for 9 years, overseeing customer support and user safety and content management and content proactive review. So yeah, quite a few years in this business.
So you are the person who kind of keeps you're the internet police in a good way.
Yeah.
In a good way.
Yeah, we don't like to think of ourselves as the police, but we do consider ourselves a partner with online users to make sure that we create as safe an environment as possible and also create that communication channel between the company and its users.
Right. So I'd like to dig a little bit into how people can be safer on the internet, but let's start a little bit in your role at these companies, and at Tagged right now and in the past at MySpace and Yahoo. You were the person who kind of kept an eye on what people were posting, which could take two forms, something negative, unpleasant, pornographic, but also stuff that's maybe oversharing. To a dangerous level or an uncomfortable level.
I always feel I should preface this by saying like that most of the content people post online is just quite fine, right?
Sure.
There is an element that is abusive in nature, and we certainly manage that. I think the thing you're alluding to really has to do with a particular concern about identity safety and user safety in oversharing personal information, personally identifiable, PII, we call it, your date of birth, your location, these types of things, your zip code. There's a whole host of information that those who want to do you harm can glean a lot of data about you just from your innocuous postings online, which is why we really encourage people to check your privacy settings on your online presence, regardless of what social network and social media outlets you use. You should be very wary about what you share about yourself.
Well, let's dig into that a little bit because there's a lot of talk now. There's always a lot of talk. Facebook really takes a lot of heat sometimes about changing privacy settings and letting people, not really letting people know. So is it safe to say that if you do nothing, the doors are wide open?
Yeah, I mean, not picking on Facebook in particular, but generally speaking.
Yeah, across many social networks,
right.
The default seems to be
pretty open and probably sharing more than most people would be entirely comfortable with.
Or aware of.
I think I just read a statistic that said 15% of people in this survey had never even looked at their settings.
Wow.
So that's a lot of folks sharing a great deal of information that they might not be comfortable with if they took a little closer look.
And when you're going on a social network, or even, and by social network that includes the photo sharing sites like Flickr, Picasa, the Google+, all this stuff, there are a lot of boxes to fill in. They're not actually required. And you're not actually required to put, for some reason, I'm not really clear why a social network would need to know my physical address of where my house is, where I live.
Yeah.
But they ask for it, so maybe because I'm trained to put stuff in, I would just randomly put that in.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Mike. Generally, when you look at a registration page, there are red asterisks or some identifier of that information which is required.
Right.
And certainly the advice I take myself is to give the minimum required. Should I want to go back later for some legitimate business purpose and add additional profile information, I can do that. But generally, less is more. Mm-hmm. And users should proceed cautiously before sharing too much personal information.
Right. And a lot of times where the problem runs in, because a lot of our viewers are business owners, and so we're speaking to them, and consumers, of course, but a lot of times where the trouble begins is because the business is asking for information which it may or may not need. By business, I mean website. The website business
Sure.
is asking for information that they might not actually need, but that's the default form. And then that opens up a whole can of worms because somebody could get into their files, if you will, and if you've given up all the possible information
Right.
you can, there it is.
It's a really good point. Certainly, as the business owner should consider what they really need to collect in order to deliver the products or services the user is requesting, and users should be very cautious and understand and look for trust and safety evidence on a website before you give up your PII, right? You want to look for things like not specifically, but eTrust or some of these certifications that show that a website is secure. There's indicators on your browser and there's indicators on the website, and you can do some searching. And it really behooves us all as consumers to do our due diligence and not necessarily just trust a link because it looks good. Be very wary before. And I think from the business perspective is to build sites that give users a level of confidence and be open and transparent about your policies and what you are going to share and with whom. And it's kind of a partnership, I think, between consumers and businesses.
Right. And the open and transparent part, it has become almost a joke when people say, do you agree to the terms of service? And everybody's guilty of it. I don't understand why, for instance, Apple has to change their terms of service so frequently that I have to keep agreeing to it every time I want to download a song, but it's 26 pages. My wife is a contract lawyer. I don't know that she could read and understand that. I certainly can't, so what do I do? Click I agree because you don't have any choice.
I'm going to be honest, we all do that, right? We all do that. And I'm not sure what the answer to that one is. That's the big nut. As long as we have a lot of litigation,
Right.
I think we're going to get longer and longer terms of service.
Okay.
And it's really tough. I would say, look at the privacy policy.
Right, okay.
Terms of service is also obviously critical because you're agreeing to quite a bit in that. But also the privacy policy is what they're going to do with what a company is allowing, you are allowing through the agreement, the company to do with your data.
Okay, so the terms of service is basically you're agreeing to use the social network or the platform or the website. This is what you're agreeing to so you can use their services, mostly for free. But so that is what it is. But the privacy settings, where you're going to be figuring out what they're going to do with your information, that's really what people can pay attention to, and then make a determination if that's something they agree to.
Yes, and I wouldn't say that the terms of service was not important because there's some critical information in there, but by and large, the privacy policy is going to dictate how this business can use your information, to whom they can sell or transfer your data. This is an area consumers really should take close attention to.
Right. And then along that same vein, if you're going to give a little bit of information to one website and a little bit of information to another website, it would seem innocuous because I'm just going to give them a little, and then you give a little bit to somebody else, but it's something different.
Right.
Should consumers be worried about somebody collecting all that stuff in one big bucket?
Well, I think we all need to be a little bit concerned that we have perhaps overshared across the internet, and individually those pieces of data don't seem very troubling, but when they're for, let's say it's a minor sharing information, it becomes a little more of a concern. When I can find a minor, a teen, who has given their date of birth, their location, their school, their cell phone number. I have photographs of them. I have a picture of their house. These things are quite concerning. So for adults, difficult enough. When you factor in that so many users are under 18, doubly concerning, right?
So a couple of tips, specific tips for parents to talk through, because we all know that when kids get on the internet, that we're not looking over their shoulder. So
Right.
for parents or adults to prepare their kids, what are a couple of things that hey, you should avoid doing this.
Yeah, I think it's time for parents to have very honest conversations with their kids. If you can be friends with your kids on their social network, not to be big brother, but to be a resource to them, that's a wonderful thing. If you can't, then I think it's important that parents sit and have frank conversations about how information, however innocuous it feels to the teenager, how that could be misused by others. And there's a lot of resources online. Maybe we'll give some names of websites after
Great.
we're completed. I think the education, kids are very, very savvy online, and they're very likely, especially in the mobile web world, to share things instantly and to kind of overshare. I think it's up to parents to kind of catch up in some cases
Sure.
with their kids' level of technology expertise, and to have the kinds of dialogues you have in the physical world about physical dangers. You have to have the same kinds of conversations about the digital dangers.
And a couple of real obvious ones are hey, on Facebook, let's say, or a platform like that, hey, give me a call. Post your message into a news stream. But really, that's a direct message, shouldn't it? I mean, there's
Yeah.
a very big difference.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
We're using, and especially the younger kids and teenagers. I actually met a kid who'd never sent an email because it was all Facebook and social networks and text
Yeah.
messages.
Yeah.
But there's two ways, even on Twitter, two ways, open, closed.
Right.
So parents should be able to be fluent enough in what that means to help their kids understand, take the time to direct message instead of posting into the complete universe.
Absolutely agree. Simple to teach a kid, and maybe a little more difficult for some of us to make sure we understand. But yeah, that's a very simple, clever idea.
Let's talk now then a little bit about more general internet safety, because there's all kinds of dangers in unknown emails and that sort of thing. Yeah. What should people be careful of?
Be careful of any email you received from your bank telling you to click the link and update your information. That's not the way banks communicate with consumers. Go to the website. If you don't follow a link in an email, go directly to the website from your bookmark or type it in for things like PayPal and Bank of America and any banking institution. Don't follow clicks inside emails, and become aware of what a phishing message looks like, right? They've become very sophisticated and very clever, but there's also a ton of them that you can spot right away with a little bit of training, and there are websites that will teach you about phishing, like Anti-Phishing Working Group has some wonderful examples of how clever some of these scammers are in getting you to click that link, and especially this time of year, I think, in the holidays. There are more opportunistic websites out there taking advantage. I'm getting a lot of spam myself for UPS tracking or gift cards that are being sent to me. These are not accurate. These are false, and they're scams. But it's very timely because I am getting packages through UPS now. So when I see that, or a gift card. So I think if it seems too good to be true, it is.
If it seems too good to be true, it is.
Just like in the physical world, it's the same in the digital world. If it's too good, seems too good to be true, it is. And to be very, very cautious before clicking links for photos or anything that's a little bit unexpected from one of your friends, because friends get their accounts hacked and then they send out this kind of material. So to be very careful. There are other scams that, purport to be, someone's taken over my Facebook page, send me money. Anybody tells you to send a wire transfer, it's not real.
So if you get an email from a banker in Nigeria saying that you could have $10 million if you send your bank account information, wait a minute.
I know you're shocked.
Hang on a second.
I know you're shocked. Those, I think most people can filter through those. The real, someone's a prince in some foreign country and they can't get their money unless you send it to them. Most people don't fall for that. I think what's more interesting and probably a little scarier are some of the more sophisticated scams that by golly, do appear to be from your bank, right? They really do appear legitimate. And you mouse over the URL and the message and it looks real. And of course, it redirects you somewhere else. So I think we have to become savvier as consumers as the scammers get more clever and sophisticated. There'll always be that other kind of lower level. They're trying, right? They're trying, give them credit and move on.
It's a numbers game.
But some of the other scams, the more sophisticated ones, probably we all need to become a little better educated on how to detect them and a little wary about clicking links to funny videos and without doing a little bit of due diligence.
And it's possible even if you get a scam email from your bank, because this happened recently with Bank of America. If you get a scam email and you do click the link, where you go could look like Bank of America's website.
Looks just like it because they copied it.
And so
It looks just like it. It seems legitimate. That's why I say go from your own bookmark to Bank of America. Call your bank, right?
or physically type it into your URL.
Type it in yourself, right? Make sure you have this is all presupposing you have a current browser and you have the proper antivirus software updated and all those things because you're vulnerable if you don't have all the current software.
And what are a couple of steps that people can take to make sure that they're protected to some extent?
Get some antivirus software
Okay.
now. If you don't have it, you have to. And yes, if you have a Mac, you need it too.
Really?
Yeah, I have a Mac. I need it too. It's hard. It's hard because we had those of us who use Macs had a kind of a sense of security because we were a small part of the market, so we
Right.
weren't being attacked necessarily. But now we're a bigger part of the market, and there's opportunity there. So of course, scammers are going to attack other platforms, whatever's popular, mobile device, whatever. So it's critical that everybody have a proper and listen to it. So if you get warnings, you need to pay attention to them. Don't just bypass them.
So we're talking about some of the most common antivirus downloads cost $50.
Maybe that.
Norton or
Yep.
some.
Yeah.
There's several good
There's
ones.
several, and I think they're all similar in nature. Generally, they update frequently, so
Right.
you go online. I don't know if people use these. You go online, and the software updates with current threats and patches and protections. And we would all be better off if everybody had that in their system.
Okay, so don't depend if you have a Mac on that you're safe just because it's Mac like the old days. And certainly don't depend on Microsoft Explorer, Internet Explorer to keep you safe.
No, and they've come a long way in browsers. Microsoft at one point their browser was pretty vulnerable, but they've really come back with some tremendous protections. I think, Firefox, all these browsers really Chrome. There's some wonderful browsers with a lot of protections helping you. There's add-ons to browsers to help you identify potentially bad websites before you click them. So really use those security settings that are inherent in the browsers, coupled with proper updates to antivirus software, and you're much, much safer.
So everybody has to pay attention now.
We all do.
And when it comes to the process of getting hacked, I seem to be getting more and more emails from sensible people, not internet neophytes, just sensible people who should know better, but they have apparently clicked on a link. And so I get an email that says, I finally found something that's really super terrific. It's sent to 70, 80, however many people.
Yeah.
What should first of all, should be a red flag right away.
Yes.
But I've been noticing a lot of the domain extensions. They're not .com.
No.
They're .ru or .de. What does that all mean?
Yeah, those are not hosted in the U.S. Those are non-U.S. sites. They're very crafty and they're very clever, and they do get people to click links they shouldn't click, infect their system, infect their email account, send out blasts of messages. This is a common problem. You absolutely have to keep your antivirus software current. Don't click links that you get an email from someone you don't know. Type it in your browser and really be extra, extra protective.
So people can have their accounts hacked and they can get a virus or that will download some malware that'll cause their computer to reach
Yes.
out and basically get their friends scammed as well.
Exactly.
So
You're
if
exactly
it's too good to be true,
It is.
It generally is.
It generally is, yes.
So consumers should be aware of quite a number of things. Can we speak a little bit to folks that are operating businesses online who might not have the sophistication of a Tagged or a MySpace? What are some steps that they can take?
Yeah, I mean, it's critical, I think, as a business owner, no matter how small you are, to have kind of transparent policies, secure services, and to have a kind of open communication with your users. Make sure they know how to contact you, whether by email or phone or chat, whatever kind of opportunity you have. Because if you have a problem, if a user does not feel safe on your site, they're probably first opportunity they're going to try and tell you. But if you're not there to listen, they're going to tell the Twitterverse. They're going to tell a lot of friends, and that can be very harmful to a brand. So I think the most important thing is to make sure you're, first off, not acquiring more information than you need about a user in order to deliver the service, but protecting that information as if it were your own, and making sure that consumer can correspond with you in some meaningful way, and not an email that gets answered 4 days later. That there really needs to be that ability to know that as a consumer, I'm going to be heard if I write to you, and you're going to get back to me in a reasonable period of time.
So if you're a business operating an online website to do business online, I understand it is impossible to call some of the big, giant social networks because when you have 100 million users, you don't really want to list your telephone number.
Right.
But if you have a website for your business, in fact, you do want to list your telephone number, don't you?
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Because that's the object.
The whole point is to connect with consumers, right? And you certainly, maybe you want to give them more than one option. Phone is one, email is another, contact form, chat is a kind of up-and-coming kind of popular mechanism to communicate. In all cases, it's critical that you have some connection with your user. It has to be a two-way street, not just pushing information to a user.
Right. So from the website owner's side, to be completely transparent and going into it for people who are kind of new to the online marketing and online business, put some thought into what do I need information-wise?
Yeah.
What am I going to do with it information-wise? And as people become more and more aware of this, they're going to become more and more paranoid about it. So if you're really open and honest and say, this is what we're going to do, that's really an important step into that transparency that you talked about.
It is. You've built a relationship of trust with the consumer. And, the other thing I would say is to only capture what you need and be honest about how you're going to use it, and to ensure that if your policy changes and you're going to start using things in a different way, that you also communicate that to your user base via an update, not a buried update, an actual update.
Right. An open forum.
So the users have an opportunity to decide whether they really want to share that. I mean, and most of the time it'll be fine. We have a new ad partnership or something, but to communicate that is critical to building trust.
And that's exactly key. If we're doing business online with people, they need to trust us.
Yes.
And so if we're going to start off by being open and honest, the likelihood of trust is really going to be there.
Yeah, and store it securely too, which goes without saying, right? Using
Right.
secure servers and
Secure servers, encrypting
Absolutely.
credit card data.
Yes.
These are all things that
absolutely critical.
the average business owner is going to have to get a little bit of assistance.
Yes, I agree. You do. But there's times to call in experts. This is one you have to get right.
Right. When you're protecting your customers' credit card numbers, that's
Yes.
when you get expert advice.
That's right.
Okay. So in a nutshell, let's talk a little bit about what we learned today from the webmaster or business side. Open, transparent policies
Yes.
and procedures. Tell people what they're going to do with that information.
Right.
Collect as little data as necessary. And keep things updated, keep your client's information protected to every extent possible.
Yes.
Recap a little bit then, a couple of things for the consumers to be aware of. And one of the things I want to talk about is birthdays. And so we have a phone here. Everybody always wants to know your birthday. And a lot of times it's so they can use it as part of the, I lost the password, they're part of that reconnection process. Does it have to be your real birthday?
Yeah. In some cases, you're better off with your real birthday, depending on the application. But generally speaking, the birth date is also used to make sure that that businesses tailor information for your age, and that so they comply with federal law regarding minors under 13s, right? So there are many websites that require you to be over a specific age. Say if you went to a website that sold alcohol, your date of birth needs to be specific to the age for that. For online social networks, the COPA laws, right, Child Online Protection, at 13. So we have to verify these. So there are cases where it makes sense to use your absolute real date, and to make sure that you are sharing correctly based on user as a business, to make sure that you are honoring age requirements and age limits.
So the average consumer should be careful about privacy settings, or at least aware of privacy settings on the social networks that they use. Be aware of the information that they provide. Understand that they don't need to fill in every single box.
Right.
And realize that if you put a little bit here, a little bit there, and a little bit on another site, scammers and spammers can aggregate that information and learn too much about you.
That's right.
So go into this eyes wide open.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes.
Thanks so much, Kathy.
Thanks,
I really
Mike.
appreciate having you on the show. Kathy Ciari, internet safety expert. And thank you for joining us for another episode of Social Jumpstart, the cable television program about social media. We'll see you next time.